Hello everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another video. Today I'm using the brand new O Penguin Tree stamp set for Mama Elephant. This is their brand new release for their anniversary celebration, and I tend to kind of usher in my very first holiday cards every year with their anniversary celebration, which is usually mid-September. So I'm happy to be using the stamp set today. I'm going to be doing a bunch of coloring. And I've stamped the image in intense black ink from Simon on some Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock, and I'm coloring it in with some Copic markers. I've used my Copics a little bit more recently. I hope those of you who've been asking for more Copic videos have noticed. I really enjoy it, and I actually ended up ordering a bunch of Copic refills. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but Copic came out with all new refills. They've put them in kind of marker shaped bottles that have the same caps as a sketch marker. So it's easier to find the color you need, and they can also fit into any storage that you have that fits the sketch markers. So it's kind of brilliant. In fact, I don't know how I got this far with my Copic coloring for so many years without having any refills. I think I had 3 refills, and they were for the browns and skin tone colors that I was using a lot when I was coloring people back in the day. And I think I refilled a couple of those markers once or twice, but everything else I have had no refills. I've just been using the markers, and if they started to dry out, I would just set them aside. And anyway, it is time for some refills. So I'm keeping this coloring very, very simple. I'm only using 2 colors if I need shading on the different colored areas. I'm not blending it a lot. The only part that I really did blend quite a bit is that brown hat on the bottom row of the penguins. But other than that, I kept this really simple. Even the black areas on the penguins, I did a base color of N4, I believe, and then came in with N6 or N7. I can't remember which one. I think it's N6. Just because even though the areas are black, they don't need to be completely black, because if you do like a full black, you'll lose the line work. So keep it just to a dark gray, and it will read black to the viewer. That's a great way to do it. And it also gives you the opportunity to have a bit more shading, because if you're just doing a flat black, you don't really have many opportunities for shading because it is as dark as it will go. So I just colored in all those flat areas on the penguins, making sure to add some shading. And don't look too closely because my light source direction changed 5 million times while I was coloring, but just enough shadow to give it some interest, not precise lighting across this entire image. So after I had all of the penguins and all the little things they were holding colored, I then colored the background. I'm using BG78 for the bottom area, and I switched to the chisel tip of my marker to color in that flat area. And then when it comes to the background, I used another BG shade, and for this one I used BG18, and it's just a nice kind of contrast with that color at the bottom, gives it just enough interest. And around the image I used the brush tip, and then everywhere that was away from the image, I used the chisel tip to put down a larger amount of color. After I had the background completely colored in, I then came in with a Signo gold pen, and I added some stars, actual star shapes, and then also some dots that read as stars. And I just added those kind of sporadically around that background area. Also at this point, I was noticing that that gold that I put on the top of the kind of tree of penguins and also that little crown was sort of clashing with the more greenish gold of my pen. And so eventually I will go in and color over those. I thought it'd be really fun to add some glossy, shiny areas, especially since we've got a few different opportunities for that. So I put some glossy accents from Ranger on the glasses of this penguin near the top of the little penguin tree, as well as on all of the goldfish bowls, except for the one that's on the cover of the book, because that's not a real goldfish bowl. That's just the instruction manual, right? So I also added some shimmer on top of some of the red and green areas, just to add a little bit of interest. I thought adding that glossy area on those fish bowls and the glasses was nice, but I wanted a little bit of shimmer. So you can see how that kind of shimmer and shines in those different areas. And then this is when I filled in the star and the crown. And once I do that, then, I don't have any weird colors clashing. It looks pretty perfect. So at this point, I'm pretty much done with all of the coloring. I'm going to be working on the greeting and also how I'm going to be putting this all together on a card. So the greeting I'm using is one from the stamp set. It's a really long, skinny strip of words. And I prepped the area with an anti-static powder tool. And then I brought in a transparency grid sheet from Simon Says Stamp so that I could line up those words just perfectly and kind of slide that transparency sheet over the area and get it lined up just right. Then I can swing the door of my MISTI over, and that picks up the stamp as well as the sheet, pull off the sheet, and then go straight into stamping. I'm using some clear embossing ink from Simon Says Stamp so that I can do a little bit of heat embossing. So when I pressed this down, I did it very, very gently, just barely pressing it down. I didn't want to kind of balloon out those edges or have any blobby letters. Sprinkled on some alabaster embossing powder from Burgess Monroe, and then tapped off the excess. Used my heat tool and kind of heated from the back as well as the fronts to help prevent any warping. And then I trimmed down my piece so that it was a little bit smaller than a 5x7 card. Forgot to mention this at the beginning of the video, but my cardstock was cut to exactly 5x7, and I decided to cut it down to 6.5 by 4.5. So it's just half an inch smaller in each dimension than the 5x7 card. I then put some foam adhesive on the back and adhered that to a white 5x7 top folding card. And that finishes my card for today. I love how this turned out. I love all these kind of like animal tree images that Mama Elephant comes out with. I think they've done it with dogs and cats and now penguins. I think they did it with snowmen too at one point, or maybe that was just a crowd of snowmen. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember. But I love this so much. Make sure you visit my blog today for information on the blog hop celebrating Mama Elephant's anniversary. And thank you so much for stopping by and watching my first holiday card of the season. I will be starting my holiday card series. The official holiday card series will be starting near the end of October. So stay tuned for that. It's my favorite time of year. I love making holiday cards, and I know you guys love watching them too. Thank you so much for watching today. I will catch you guys in another video very, very soon.